Good morning students. Hope you're all fine at home. So in today's class we are going to start a new lesson in geography. Lesson number 4, Air and Atmosphere. The first topic we are going to see is atmosphere. While the earth is where we live, it is the atmosphere around the earth which gives us the air to breathe. So where do we live, children? We live in the earth. It is the atmosphere around the earth which gives us the air to breathe. So the atmosphere, what is the meaning of atmosphere? Air. Okay, so it means air. So with the air only we can able to breathe. This is the most important thing for survival of life. Can we able to live without air? It is impossible. So it seems to be the most important thing of every human being. The atmosphere is like a thick blanket of air around the earth, which although not visible, it performs many functions without which sustenance of life on earth would have been difficult. So the atmosphere is compared to a thick blanket of air, because without the air we can't able to survive on the earth. We feel very difficult to survive. It provides important gases essential for many aspects of life, controls the temperature on earth so that it doesn't become too hot or too cold, and it also provides assistance for the movement of moisture. So what does the atmosphere provides us? Yes, it provides important gases. Okay, so gases means the nitrogen, helium, etc. Okay, so these are all the gases. So it provides us different gases for many aspects of life, and it controls the temperature on the earth. So this atmosphere has also able to control the temperature so that it doesn't become too hot or too cold. So it won't become too hot or too cold. And it also provides assistance for the movement of moisture. Besides this, the atmosphere also provides a very important source of energy. Let us see this one by one. So what is the important source of energy? Composition of the atmosphere. The blanket of atmosphere around the earth has many gases in different proportions and densities. The atmosphere also has water vapor, dust particles and pollutants which vary from place to place and are dependent on the climatic conditions. But in general, the gases and their composition is constant across the globe. Let us see the various gases which form the atmosphere. Look at the first point, students. The blanket atmosphere around the earth has many gases. So as we have seen already, the atmosphere has different gases. So it has also different proportions with different densities. Okay. The atmosphere also has water vapor. So it also has the water vapor, the dust particles and the pollutions. Okay, so it differs from one place to the another place according to the climatic conditions. But in general, the gases and their composition is constant across the globe. So it won't change. It seems to be the constant across the globe. Let us see the various gases which forms the atmosphere. You can see from the chart above that the biggest constituent is nitrogen gas followed by oxygen. So can you able to see this chart, children? Yes, so 78% of gas is nitrogen and 20.9% is oxygen. Okay. So which is the biggest of all? Yes, nitrogen. Okay, nitrogen gas seems to be the biggest of all, which it is followed by the oxygen. next argon, carbon dioxide, ozone, hydrogen and helium are also found in very small quantities compared to the nitrogen and the oxygen. Okay, so argon, carbon dioxide, ozone, hydrogen and helium are also found in very small quantities. Let us see the importance of some of these gases in our life. So how do we use these gases in our day-to-day life? So we are going to see that. The first gas we are going to see is oxygen. Oxygen is the most essential gas for our existence. So most essential gas. So what is that? Yes, oxygen. So it seems to be very important for our living. So without the oxygen, we can't able to survive. So we take in oxygen and we breathe out the carbon dioxide. Humans and animals breathe in air and absorb the oxygen. So as I told now, what do the humans and the animals breathe in? Yes, they breathe in the air and absorb the oxygen. Plant also breathe oxygen. Even animals living in the sea absorb oxygen present in the air. So not only the human beings absorbs the oxygens but also the plants and the animals which lives in the sea also absorbs the oxygen. Oxygen is also essential for fire. So to produce fire also, what do we need? We need the gas oxygen. It causes rusting of iron and some other metals. The next gas we are going to see is nitrogen. Nitrogen is the gas which has peculiar properties. It is not absorbed by humans and plants. When we breathe in air, nitrogen also goes inside our lungs, but we exhale it and do not use it. Plants need nitrogen but cannot absorb it directly. There are certain bacteria that live in the soil and in the roots of the plants. This bacteria convert nitrogen into a form which helps plants in making their own food. It thus plays an important role in plant growth. So the nitrogen gas has many different properties. So it's not only absorbed by the plants and the humans. So the human beings breathe in the oxygen, isn't it? So we not only breathe in the oxygen but also the nitrogen gas. So what happens when we inhale it? It goes to the lungs and at once we will exhale it. And this nitrogen gas is not used by the human beings inside us. Plants also need the nitrogen gas but they can't able to absorb this gas directly. There are some bacteria which lives in the soil and the roots of the plants. So this bacteria needs the nitrogen gas to prepare their own food. So this nitrogen gas plays an important role for the plant growth. The next gas is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a gas which has atoms of both carbon and oxygen. This is the next important gas of the atmosphere. It is used by green plants by a process called photosynthesis. During photosynthesis, the plants utilize water, carbon dioxide and sunlight. In this process, the plants release oxygen into the atmosphere. Photosynthesis happens only during the day when there is sunlight. During photosynthesis, plants produce enough oxygen which makes up for the oxygen consumed by the humans and animals. So this carbon dioxide has the atoms, the atoms of both the carbon and the oxygen. And this carbon dioxide seems to be and very important gas of the atmosphere, and it also used by the green plants for the photosynthesis. During the process of photosynthesis, the green plants use, that means it utilize the water, carbon dioxide and the sunlight. So when this process happens, the green plants release the oxygen into the atmosphere. And this photosynthesis happens only during the daytime where there is sunlight. During photosynthesis, what happens? The plants will produce the oxygen. Okay, it will produce the oxygen which it has been consumed by the humans and the animals. You would realize that cutting off trees would thus be disastrous for the environment of the earth, as the balance of oxygen consumption and its production will be disturbed. Human activities like industrialization and burning of waste cause the release of huge quantities of carbon dioxide into the air. This also has its harmful impact on the atmosphere. We all know that the cutting of trees is disastrous for the environment because it affects the supply of oxygen and its production will also get disturbed. And also the human activities like the industrialization and the burning of waste are the main causes for the carbon dioxide which gets to mix into the air, and these are all the harmful effects on the atmosphere. Structure of the atmosphere. Atmosphere is a thick blanket of gases. These gases form different layers depending on their density and weight. The composition of gases has an effect on the temperature pattern. The atmosphere is divided into 5 layers: troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere and exosphere. How the structure of the atmosphere will be? It will be like a thick blanket of gases, and these gases will be of different layers with the density and weight. So its density and weight will also be different. The atmosphere has been divided into different types of layers. And how many layers of atmosphere are there? There are 5. Okay, the first one is troposphere, and the second one is stratosphere, and the third one is mesosphere, the fourth one is thermosphere, and the fifth one is exosphere. This is the diagram of the distribution of temperature in the atmosphere. So the temperature of the atmosphere changes according to their height. So the first one they have given is the troposphere. The troposphere begins at the surface and extends between 9 km at the poles and 17 km at the equator. Next to the troposphere, there is stratosphere. The stratosphere extends from the troposphere to about 50 km above the sea level. So next to the stratosphere, there is mesosphere. The next layer of gases above the stratosphere is called the mesosphere. It rises above from the stratosphere to 85 to 90 km, and the topmost is the thermosphere. So the temperature increases rapidly with height in the thermosphere. Now let us see about troposphere in detail. The troposphere begins at the surface and extends between 9 km at the poles and 17 km at the equator. Thus, it is generally said to have an average thickness of 13 km. The air we breathe is present only in this layer. This layer sees most variation of weather and witness several weather phenomena. Rainfall, fog, hail and snowfall are generally limited to this layer. The troposphere holds approximately 80% of the mass of the atmosphere. The boundary between the troposphere and stratosphere is called tropopause. Okay, students, and what is the range of the troposphere? Here they have mentioned. Yes, it starts from the surface. Okay, surface of 9 km, and it extends to the range of 17 km at the equator. So it seems to be have an average thickness of 13 km. So in troposphere only the air is present, which helps us to breathe. Weather in troposphere seems to be most variant, and we can find the rainfall, fog, hail and snowfall in this troposphere. And the troposphere holds 80% of mass of the atmosphere. Boundary line between the troposphere and the stratosphere is said to be as tropopause. Next layer we are going to see is stratosphere. The stratosphere extends from the tropopause to about 50 km above mean sea level. This layer has nearly no clouds and it is not affected by any weather conditions, because of which it is considered as ideal for flying aircrafts. In this layer, the temperature increases with height due to increased absorption of ultraviolet radiation by the ozone layer. While the temperature may be minus 51 degrees Celsius at the lower level of this layer, that is at the tropopause, the top of the stratosphere is much warmer with a temperature of minus 15 degrees Celsius. And the range of this troposphere seems to be about 50 km above the sea level. In this layer, we can't able to find any clouds and is not affected by the weather conditions. The temperature in this stratosphere increases with the height because of the ultraviolet radiation of the ozone layer. The temperature in stratosphere at the lower level seems to be minus 51 degrees Celsius, and the top of the stratosphere seems to be much warmer with the temperature of about minus 50 degrees Celsius. The boundary between the stratosphere and the next layer mesosphere is at 50 to 55 km and is known as stratopause. The pressure here is about 1 by 1000 as compared to that at the sea level. The stratopause is said to be the boundary which is present between the stratosphere and the mesosphere of 50 to 55 km, and the pressure in stratopause seems to be as 1 by 1000 as compared to the sea level. Okay students, so in this class we have seen atmosphere, composition of the atmosphere and the structure of the atmosphere. So we'll continue the remaining part in the next class. I have attached you the PDF that has to be written in your classwork note. Thank you all.